The John Wick franchise is steeped in mythology, from the 12 seats at the high table referencing the 12 gods of Olympus in Greek myth, to the Continental representing the underworld, with Winston serving as Hades and Charon as the ferryman of the same name who accepts a coin as payment for safe passage. There's also a neat nod to the Order of Assassins, a real-life 11th to 12th century Nizari-Ishmaeli sect founded by Hassani Sabah, also known as the Elder. And though more can be said about the series, this is a story about John Wick, a warrior without a master, who journeys to discover who he truly is beyond what others expect him to be. Is he a devil, or is he a priest? Does he want to be remembered as Baba Yaga, the myth, or John, the loving husband?
Who do you wish to die as? The Baba Yaga? The last thing many men ever see, or as a man who loved and was loved by his wife?
Or is he something more? How do you want to be remembered? Are you free to choose your own fate? And if it is at all possible to build an iron will in the face of struggle and adversity, then can it help you overcome the pain of being human? Keep those questions in the back of your mind as you watch this video, and by the time you finish, you might just learn exactly why fortune comes to save the strong ones. But first, perhaps you're wondering what we could possibly learn about virtue from a trained assassin and legendary killer for hire. Isn't the John Wick franchise simply a vapid, yet admittedly well choreographed action flick? Not exactly, and here's why. Just as hard times create strong men, so too can they lead to their downfall. We sympathize with John Wick not because he transforms violence into high art, or even because of his expert marksmanship, but because most of us have, at some point, lost someone we loved, and the closer they were to us, the harder it was to let them go and accept that they would no longer be in our lives. Whether it's dealing with the death of a loved one or grappling with a failed marriage, each situation is unavoidably painful and can seriously test our resolve. So how do we overcome tragedy and loss? Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." This truth bears repeating. If you have a reason to live, you can endure almost anything that life throws at you. John lost everything he loved, his wife, his car, his dog, but the memory of his wife still remained. Thus, he could bear any how as long as he held on to that why.
Why do you wish to live?
My wife, Helen. To remember her. To remember us.
Tragedy and suffering is a part of life, and sometimes it can come without warning, but it's how we deal with loss that makes all the difference in the world. Keanu Reeves should know. He experienced his fair share of it in his own life. For starters, his father abandoned him when he was just a toddler. Then, as an adult, he lost his friend and co-star River Phoenix to a drug overdose.
River Phoenix.
When Keanu was ready to become a father, he lost his child to a stillbirth, and, not too long afterward, lost his ex-girlfriend in a car accident. These were extremely trying times for Reeves, but instead of becoming resentful and self-destructive, he transformed his pain into strength, developing a humility rarely seen in the average person.
What is your secret for always staying down to earth? Well, gravity.
His acts of kindness are often discussed with admiration by his fans and co-stars alike, which range from donating millions to charities to the little things he does in public, like helping strangers on the subway. As Viktor Frankl wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." There's one thing that Wick is not, and that's a quitter. In fact, the relentlessness in which he pursues his goals is something you'll only see in high-level athletes and a few highly motivated individuals. Like a bulldozer on autopilot, John is so focused and committed to his task that anything that stands in his way quickly falls to the side of his path. Now, how does that manifest in real life? When committing to something worthwhile, your vision must burn so brightly in your mind's eye that everything else becomes background noise. In other words, you have to want it badly enough that it becomes your main focus. This could mean putting most of your spare time into a project you've wanted to complete, or it could mean an unwavering commitment to losing weight through regular exercise and a low-calorie diet. Either way, you must pick something you're willing to sacrifice for, and you must clearly see the end goal. Once you're on the path, you will inevitably face a number of roadblocks and challenges along the way, whether from people who try to sabotage your efforts or from your own self-doubts. This is to be expected. But regardless, it's important to push through despite these eventualities. It's at this point, however, when many people lose sight of the goal or give up entirely. Don't be one of those people. Refuse to let your past define you, or you will forever remain stuck. Instead, keep going. Be relentless in the pursuit of your goals, and not only will you crush every single one of them, you'll also build competence and discipline, which will help you bounce back quickly from life's hard blows.
So I guess you have a choice. You want a war? Or do you want to just give me a gun?
For your goals to succeed without the risk of fizzling out, you have to leave yourself with little choice in the matter. In other words, the stakes must be high. When John kills D'Antonio on continental grounds, this was not a momentary lapse of reason.
What have you done?
Finished it.
When he decided to pull the trigger, he knew that he would be violating the rules of the High Table, effectively burning all bridges leading back to his former life. From that moment forward, there would be no turning back. He would have to fight and live or die trying. But it was crystal clear to him that in order to be free to choose his own fate, he would have to find the courage to take this bold risk. That's not to say that burning all bridges is a good idea, but it does mean that eliminating bad habits and toxic people from your life is a requirement. Know that when the stakes are high, swift changes will occur, but when you have an easy way out, when instant gratification is available at the click of a button, your focus will always remain fragmented. Call your buddies and tell them about your goals. Keep a solid deadline. Have them hold you accountable either through monetary arrangements or obligations to do them a favor. If you fail, pay up. If you succeed, pat yourself on the back. With enough pressure and a strong support group to encourage you, you'll push yourself harder than you ever thought possible.
Rules. Exactly. Rules. Without them, we live with the animals.
With hundreds of assassins now after him for breaking the rules, John escapes to Casablanca and makes the arduous journey across the Moroccan desert to meet the Elder. There, he gives up his wedding ring, along with his finger, as a symbolic gesture of fealty. This in exchange for the bounty to be taken off his head. With his back against the wall, John loses sight of his mission. Now a loyal servant to the will of others, he's back to square one, living a life he no longer wanted for himself. Like John, you too will stumble and fall back into your old patterns of behavior. Everything will seem hopeless, and you may even convince yourself that your vision of the future was only a childish dream that you must leave behind. But as soon as you give up, you forfeit the responsibility of carving out your own path in exchange for the security of living somebody else's. What is strength? Strength is having the courage to go after your purpose. It's refusing to allow others to dictate what you should and should not be. There's an old saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. Rules might separate us from the animals, but just like John when he decides to break his oath to the Elder, you too must know the difference between what is just and what is a rule. And the ones who make the rules are not necessarily just. So, who do you want to become? A hero in your own story or a supporting character in somebody else's? Only you have the power to make that decision. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay up to date on lifestyle advice you won't find anywhere else. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.